Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Screen Scene Guru back again for another TV picks, this time on Ghost Adventures, catching up on the season. So let's get into this. They are in episode 10 currently. I haven't watched 10 yet, but I did catch up on 8 and 9. So let's cover those. We've got Buried Souls of Pendleton, Part 1. This came out on November 26th, so for our Thanksgiving break, we got a two-parter Ghost Adventures special, which is very awesome from Zach Baggins and the crew. So starting off, we got Zach and the crew arrive at historic Pendleton, Oregon to investigate dark hauntings. It's in its stored subterranean tunnels. Has a history of death, misery, and hauntings, fed the negative energies seeping its hallways beneath the seemingly peaceful town. So they do talk about the history of Pendleton, how it was a mining town. A lot of Asian immigrants came in to find work, of course, and the local cowboys did not take kindly to them showing up to work, support for their families. Talked about how the underground was made by Chinese immigrants seeking to find shelter from the ravageous cowboys on the surface. They talked about how cowboys would get drunk, go down into the underground. They had somewhat of a makeshift town down there. They had shops, they had a jail, and apparently the drunken cowboys would go down there, shoot into the jail cells and kill the prisoners. They would also assault and kill anyone they could find down there. So people made the underground elaborate tunnels going throughout all of Pendleton, which is very interesting to hear about. You know, Chinese immigrants, they worked on things like the Great Wall of China, which also had tunnels in it. Very, ingenuity, smart with their building skills. So going on to episode 2 of the two-part Buried Souls of Pendleton. This came out on November 26th, like I said. The crew continues the terrifying investigations of the historic Pendleton, Oregon. A trip from a local sends them to an unexplored section of the town's mysterious tunnels that may bring more shameful secrets and a curse to light. So very interesting stuff here. They do discuss, that the most of the underground tunnels in Pendleton, Oregon have not been explored. Historical figures have gone there numerous times. They've brought up bodies, remains, and they've documented where buildings were, sheds, and stuff for storing wheat, animals, but they haven't explored all of them. So very interesting to hear there's a underground city underneath Pendleton, Oregon. It has not fully been explored yet. And Zach Bagans checked it out. He was able to go down there and document what he saw. So if you guys are interested in checking out that history, be sure to check it out. It's available on Discovery Plus and on HBO Max. And I believe you can also rent or buy the episodes on Prime Video as well. Like I said, they are currently on 26 or season 28. So they have a long repertoire of stuff. They've been on for 20 plus years. Ghost Adventures, Hunting the Paranormal. I do believe they are quite credible. Going into this episode 10 real quick, Doll of Fire. I have not watched this episode, but the team helps a family that has been driven from their home by a malevolent entity. Their misfortunes begin when they took in a doll from a hoarder's home. Zach fears that when whatever inhabits the doll is responsible for the mysterious fire. So, very interesting stuff there with episode 10 I've got to go into. But going into some more movie news and TV picks real quick, I do have a bit of notes to go into. I did discuss this already, but I will talk real quick about UAP news. There has been some movement updates since the Age of Disclosure documentary came out on Prime. A lot of people have watched it, and those that haven't have come out against it for it being behind a paywall, such as I have. I kind of wish it was free, so a lot more audience could see it. But now recently we've had people coming forward. We've got official Air Force testimony from Carl Neal, who's basically explaining that UAPs are real. These have been witnessed over military bases and installations. They've been documented for decades. Now we're coming to a time where it has become commonplace to discuss them openly and to the public. So that's very interesting, the statements he's making. He is, of course, an Air Force admiral. So very highly, his word, his statements come with very high credibility. They also talked about how UAP UFO hoaxes, some are now questioning the Boogospheres and Three-Eye Atlas that NASA has recently released pictures of, that they're trying to say they're dismissing it as a comet. There's a group in the government that is both fighting for disclosure, and then there's a group that is trying to cover it up as quick as it's coming. So very interesting. Weaponized, talked trash about the Age of Disclosure. Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, and their guest on the show this week recently talked about how it's a real misdirect. How they purposely don't go into the ATIP, ASWAP files. They leave out Krasetsky, and they also really basically just say it's no mention of ASWAP of any kind. George Knapp talked about gross misjustice in storytelling because they are leaving out quite a bit of information about the NIDS investigation on Skinwalker Ranch, other things that the movie chose to focus away from. Now the director apparently is talking about how there is a second film coming out because of the smack talk that's happening due to this first film. And of course, George Knapp was shamed. He was kind of upset that the paranormal wasn't discussed at all in this film either, when they have documentation that confirms the paranormal is connected to the phenomenon. ATIP comes after ASWAP ended. The movie's making people in the government upset by their work being misdirected. Luis Elizondo claims he has a book coming out that will reveal more, so that's another thing. This movie was kind of a big forward to his book, and people are upset about that as well. So talk about all this stuff real quick. Go to the next page. Age of Disclosure is #1 movie on rental and purchase for Prime Amazon right now, which is really good. They're doing pretty good. Dan Farrow, the director who did Ready Player One, has claimed that this is a passion project of his. He's worked on it for 3 years and now it's finally out. It's just too bad they chose to omit a lot of key detailed information. James Clapper, a general who has come forward to disclose the Air Force has investigated several UAP encounters, sites over military installations. The data was never given over to the CIA, FBI, any other intelligence agency. The data has exclusively stayed at the Air Force, and it's been under Air Force review. Now, the general talks about there are cases from the 1960s that have still not been reviewed. So there's a big backlog of cases they need to go through. They need to have a real team on the ground and also on these bases doing the work. So that's it for my UAP news this episode. Disney is planning a big planned promotional event at CCXP. This is the Brazilian Comic-Con happening this week, upcoming. We've already heard that Supergirl is getting ready for a trailer to come out. They've already got the Supergirl costume there in Brazil. So really cool stuff there. Latin America will be exploring the post-credit scenes of both Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. So both those post-credit scenes will be explained in Brazil by Marvel execs. So that's really cool. They're setting up Avengers Doomsday. We might be getting a Doomsday trailer at the Brazilian Comic-Con because we're getting ready for movies like Fire and Ash, the third Avatar, to drop. And I've heard there's good trailers in that. So yeah, moving on. We did hear that Zootopia 2 hit as the #1 movie in the world, making $156 million in just 5 days. So really good news for Zootopia 2. It is, of course, playing in China, which is a record-breaking set because the first one played in China as well. But we know due to the political unstable balance of the current affairs right now, China has not been open to playing a lot of our movies. But they did take Zootopia 2, and it is making a profit. So very good stuff there. Very excited about that. I've been wishing that this movie has come out for years because the first one was very successful. There's a Doctor Who spinoff being made that I want to talk about real quick. It's called The Battle Between Land and Sea. It's coming out early 2026 on the BBC, and then they said it's dropping on Disney Plus later in the year. This looks like a banger of a TV series from BBC. It's in the vein, the likes of Torchwood and The Class, the spin-offs of Doctor Who, which I've liked very much. We got the first look at Ready or Not, Here I Come, which is very exciting news about this horror film coming out in April. It's got Michelle Gellar in it. It's got Elijah Wood. So a lot of big talent is coming into this Ready or Not 2, and I'm really excited about it. We also got a Diddy documentary coming out on Netflix by 50 Cent. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's supposedly called The Fall of Diddy Combs. Mother Mary dropped its first trailer with Anne Hathaway, and it's a psychosexual story about a musician who's going on tour. Then she leaves tour to go back with her ex, who is a fashion designer, and she asks her to make a dress for her. I really thought this movie was going to be something else until I saw the trailer, and now I'm a bit more interested in it because it sounds a lot like more Black Swans or something like that. They have released clips of Fire and Ash, the third Avatar film, telling people that tickets are on sale now. They've already played it to a few fan screening events in bigger cities like California and New York, so some people have already seen it. Starz is bringing back the Spartacus series as a spin-off. This is House of Asher. And they talked about how Starz, they didn't give any notes to the creators of it. They said it's more sexualized and more violent than ever before, and Starz had no notes for the creatives. They basically told them, do whatever you can. Do whatever you think you can possibly get on screen. I know the Spartacus show back in the day was very controversial for what they all showed off, but a lot of people loved it, and it was a great series, so I'm glad it's coming back. They've got Lady Gladiators now, so I definitely want to check that out. So I talked about how Ready or Not's coming out, Ready or Not 2, Brett Ratner to return to direct. Brett Ratner. So a lot of people know about the story already if you haven't heard about him. He is, of course, the director of the first 3 Rush Hours. He's been accused of SA. I don't want to say it on my channel, but assault. And Brett Ratner, he's apparently returning to the United States to direct a Rush Hour 4. And this is coming down from President Trump, from this administration. He's asked Brett Ratner to come down and direct this 4th film in the franchise. Very interesting that he's going to produce it himself. He doesn't have a team willing to back him and financially support the movie, so Brett Ratner is going to put up the money to make it, which sounds very interesting. He's most likely going to get investors to help him, but he has been canceled out of Hollywood, and he hasn't made anything in a few years. So that is a rather interesting story. Millie Alcock was recently in a Forbes interview talking about Supergirl and how she's super excited about the role. She talked about how it's a $200 million expense for the film. So they are officially spending more money than they did on Superman on Supergirl. And it's going to be a different director. It's not going to be James Gunn. So that sounds good, but I'm wondering, are they doing, making the same mistake as the last people in charge of DC? The Snyder problem was they spent too much money on these projects and then they didn't make enough in return. So I'm wondering, are they doing the same thing? Recently, Marco Rubio has been trending in the topics of UAP alien news, and they believe that he could be running in 2028 against J.D. Vance. So either one of these guys could be our next disclosure president, because a lot of people don't believe Trump is going to do anything with disclosure. They don't think it suits him, it doesn't benefit him anyway, even though there's a big group of following that think that he is the guy. I don't think there is going to be a specific one person to disclose this. This needs to be a public, united group effort. Avengers Doomsday reports say Doom might find his way to the Library of Worlds. So I've discussed this in another video of mine, but basically the Library of Worlds is going to be like that temple at the end of Loki Season 1 that Kang was in, He Who Remains. I believe is the Library of Worlds where you can view any incursion that has happened in the past or will happen in the future. This is how Doom knows what's happening. This is why he'll show up and supposedly claim he's a villain, or not a villain, he's claiming he's a hero who's trying to stop these incursions, but he's going to be taking out teams of the Avengers, X-Men, Thunderbolts, and more to get his mission accomplished. We heard that the Taylor Swift Eras tour on Disney Plus is coming out as a series, a behind-the-scenes featurette. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this because her ode to Ophelia wasn't that great, I didn't think. How to Train Your Dragon 2 has been announced that it's going to be released on June 11th, 2027. So we are waiting about 2 years in between the live-action How to Train Your Dragons, which isn't too bad. The CGI it takes to make those films, it makes sense, the wait. Pierce Brosnan says Dr. Fate will appear in Man of Tomorrow. So that's very interesting news that a Black Adam character is going to be returning to this DCU. James Cameron says he's got plans to make an Alita Battle Angel 2 and 3, which is very shocking news because I just got done watching Alita Battle Angel and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I'm going to do a separate video on it. Planet of the Apes versus Fantastic Four, a 4-issue miniseries, is coming out in February of 2026. This is because 20th Century Fox is, of course, owned by Disney, and they are now doing comic book stories. Interesting choice to put them with the Fantastic Four and Doom. Maybe it'll get more people to buy their issues. I know Fantastic Four has been a comic book that has been relatively canceled several times because they haven't bought enough. So maybe they're doing this mix-up, this collab, to get people interested again. Netflix may lead in the bid for Warner Brothers Studios. So we recently heard that Netflix has this deal with Warner Brothers that even though they're a streaming company, they will officially release their theatrical movies in theaters. So despite what the CEO of Netflix said, they're now capitulating to Warner Brothers saying, oh, we'll put your stuff out in theaters if you want, as long as we get your company. Former president tried to come out and tell the public, warn them about disinformation of UAPs. We got certain people like Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower came out, warned about the industrial complex, the privatization of this industry technology, and how they'd be using it against the public. Joe Rogan talked about the abduction phenomenon, and he talked about having dreams of beings coming for him in his home. So this is a very interesting story as well. Infamous person like Joe Rogan talking about these creatures coming for him, and he said it was so realistic, it wasn't like a dream. He said he was tired after he woke up out of bed. I do believe things have happened with him. Trying to get the name of this company right, but I'm not exactly sure if it's Bethesda, Bethesda. I'm not exactly sure, but Bethesda is now working on a Fallout 5. So the company that works on Fallout games is now working on an official 5th video game. I think this is due to the success of the TV show as well. We're about to get Season 2 Fallout this December. Spaceballs 2 has wrapped filming. It's officially done. It's now into its final, editing, post-check. So that's really cool. Ryan Murphy's working on a new sci-fi horror drama series called The Beauty. Comes out on January 21st. I'm still waiting for 911 to return and Nashville. I am excited about this new series, The Beauty. It's got a big cast in it, like Evan Peters. It sounds like he's doing American Horror Story-like things, getting ready for American Horror Story to return. Euphoria Season 3 is coming out in April of 2026. Quentin Tarantino recently went after Paul Dano in an interview, kind of for no reason. He just called him the weakest actor in SAG. It's kind of funny because the Paul Dano fan community has gone after Quentin Tarantino, but Paul Dano himself hasn't said anything. He wants to stay quiet. So like I said, Carl Nell talked about these intelligence officers knowing about the existence of the phenomenon in the Air Force. They've known about it for a long time. Now with this documentary out, he's hoping that more people will come forward with their tales. He also discussed dark matter and the fact that we have cracked faster than light travel, which is very fascinating as well. He talked about how in the 90s, a Spanish professor in Mexico City cracked Einstein's code of faster than light travel, and that we've been supposedly studying dark matter since the 80s. And we know it. We know what it is. We know why the expansion of the universe is happening. And we supposedly just haven't told the general public. So that's very interesting stuff too. Recently we heard Scarlett Johansson was rumored to be a co-star with Robert Pattinson in the Batman Part 2. Now I have a fan theory rumor that Scarlett Johansson will play the psychiatrist to Batman because of her blonde hair. They could change her hairstyle, but right now it looks like she still has her blonde hair, and I'm hoping she's the therapist to the Batman, similar to not Michael Keaton, but Val Kilmer's Batman in Batman Forever or Batman Returns. I think it was Forever. Batman Forever, when they have this therapist with him, Nicole Kidman. I think this might be the same storyline they're doing. I'm not exactly sure. This is just fan speculation. But if she's attached, make her the therapist. I think that's it for my movie news, guys. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got more movie news stuff coming down the line. Definitely going to be talking about some Alita Battle Angel news and some more stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to follow the page. Until next time, guys, I appreciate all the love and support. Made it up to 84 subscribers, so thank you very much. And I will be seeing you in my next video. So until then, bye-bye.